Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. On behalf of the University of Maryland, the Robert H. Smith School of Business, and the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship, welcome to Van Munching Hall. My name is Ken White. I'm the Assistant Dean for Marketing Communications here at the Smith School, and it is truly, and we say this a lot, but I truly mean what an honor and a privilege it is for me to serve as your MC tonight for this wonderful event. We're all here for one reason: Rudy Lamone. Rudy said this will be a wild crowd. Well, throughout the evening, we'll share some laughs, we'll exchange some stories, we'll hear from some people about Rudy's legacy here at the school and the university. And knowing all that Rudy has meant to you and to the university, the school, and the Dingman Center, this could be an awfully long program, but the planning committee has done an outstanding job. They've threatened our speakers with time limitations, and they've done a wonderful job putting tonight's event together, and we're certain you'll have a nice time tonight. Here's the agenda for tonight. We're going to begin the program while you eat your salad, so please, if you haven't already started, please feel free to begin. Then we'll hear from two speakers, and then we'll take a break for the main course. And this will be your chance during the main course to interact with those at your table. Feel free to get up and visit other friends and colleagues throughout the room during the main course as well. And then as soon as dessert is served, we'll come back with a few more speakers, and we'll cap off the program with words from Rudy. So let's begin. Our first speaker tonight is someone everyone in the Smith family certainly knows and knows well. Bill Mayer received his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Maryland in 1966, and 1 year later, he earned his MBA. He worked for First Boston for 23 years, rising to the position of president and CEO. Bill's the founding partner of Park Avenue Equity Partners, a private equity firm. He's a director of Lee Enterprises, BlackRock Kelso Capital Corporation, Dynavox, a trustee of Columbia Mutual Funds, and he served on the boards of directors for 16 public companies. Bill was the dean of the Smith School from 1992 to 1996, taking the reins from Rudy. Our students, faculty, and staff mention Bill's name just about every day as they come in through that door, because that beautiful mall adjacent to Van Munching Hall is the Mayer Mall. Here to share some history on Rudy when he was a dean, would you please welcome Bill Mayer.
Thank you, Ken. So, Rudy Lamone, he's really a Tar Heel. Went to North Carolina, is a musician, which I didn't know when I showed up here in 1965 to finish my undergraduate degree. And I think we met the next year when I was taking my MBA, taking an operations research course from Rudy. And during that time, I was a graduate assistant working for the then dean of the college, which was part of another college. Rudy was the first dean of the business school when it became an independent entity in the early 70s. And that's and he's always, he's been an integral part of the Dingman Center for a long time, and he's always had that in him, and he had to become the first dean of the independent business school. So fast forward, so I take this course from Rudy, and he gives me a B in graduate school. So I wasn't too happy, and Rudy knows my brother, and I was telling my brother that Rudy gave me a B. And he said, "What did you do, get C's and everything else?" And we became very good friends with his wife Linda over the years, and have a lot of mutual friends in Annapolis. Rudy called me in the mid-70s to become part of his advisory council, which was quite new at that time. And of course, I said yes, and came down and saw the formation of the business school back at the other building. So then I leave First Boston and decide I want to try to do something different. Went up to the University of Rochester as Dean of the Simon School, graduate school, and then came here. And I show up, and I have this parade of professors. I'm not going to name any names, although there were a lot of people here tonight that were here when I was, first of all, a student. Steve Carroll and Rudy Lamone, I had taken courses from both of them. And I had these people coming in, and they tell me the deal they have with Rudy. Just like an entrepreneur would, right? I have a deal with Tom McMillan, right, or Dan Mote, or Britt Kerwin. And after about a week of this, we had a faculty meeting, and I announced, anybody that thinks they have a deal with Rudy, you got 7 days to come see me. We can work this. I think that while he's most noted for his work as dean, of course he did a lot of work with the Entrepreneurship Center. And that's great. And when you look at somebody's resume, the most interesting thing to me is that it tells you what they've done, but it really doesn't tell you who they are. And so when I think about Rudy, I think about, well, who is this guy? And why is it that we all came here tonight? And the answer to me is part of this very long discussion about leadership, individual leadership, leadership of others. And in all of that, excuse me, if you don't have your own moral compass, whatever that is, in terms of your own definition of your own values, it isn't going to work. So that's partly the consistency of who you are and your makeup. And so I think with Rudy, one of the things that attracted me to him and his style, and I think to all of us, is that, sure, we all have our idiosyncrasies, except for Rudy, but we know who they are, and if you're consistent, at least you know who you're dealing with. And when somebody is reliable and honest about what they think, it makes everything a little easier. And so when you think about what the example is, or should be, for all of us, when we're trying to manage other people or run something, if you're not able to do that, you're not going to get much done. And that's the difference in part between takers and givers. And Rudy is clearly a giver, and if you're a taker, it can never work in the long run. And the other thing about entrepreneurship is that I always think of people sometimes when I meet them, what would happen if we threw them in the jungle? Do you think they'd ever get out? And I think with Rudy, if you threw him in the jungle, he'd get out a little slower these days with his back, but I don't know how he'd get out, but he'd get out. And so I over all of these years, which now is 40 years that we've known each other, I could not be here, Rudy. And I want to thank you for all you've done, not only for the school and the university, but for the students and all of us that worked for you and attended this place, because it is your heart and your compass that was a role model, at least for me. So thank you for all you've done.
Bill, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Several volunteers put tonight's program and evening together, and they knew many people had many stories, and it was going to be difficult to capture all of those stories from everyone. So they had a great idea of creating a Rudy website, and they had asked alumni and friends to submit their stories and their memories to that particular website. And we'll share some of those stories throughout the night. And our first one is from Professor Cindy Stevens. And Cindy writes, like many faculty members, I first met Rudy when I interviewed here. However, my particular job offer came with a twist. Rudy requested that my then artist husband supply him with an original cartoon. The finished version depicted Rudy with about 50 hands, greeting everyone in sight, sporting a huge smile on his face. How accurate that caricature remains even today. Rudy is a constant, warm, encouraging, and friendly presence here. That's from Professor Cindy Stevens. We have fantastic faculty at the Smith School, and Cindy, of course, is one of them. Not only do they teach, They're the best researchers in the world, but they also help us push the brand out across the world. And Cindy actually today appeared in U.S. News and World Report. She was quoted on a story about networking and how best to do that to move your career along the way. And can't say enough about the faculty here at the Smith School. Our next speaker is here to share more about Rudy's history here at the University of Maryland. Chancellor Britt Kirwan was president here at College Park for 10 years, from 1988 to 1998. And before becoming president, he was a member of the math faculty for 24 years, all told 34 years here in the College Park campus. He and Patty have 3 children, all Maryland alumni. Britt was president of the Ohio State University for 4 years before coming back to Maryland as chancellor of the university system, where he's been since 2002. Please join me in welcoming Chancellor Britt Kirwan.
Thank you so very much, and especially for giving me an opportunity to be part of this very, very special evening and to say a few words about a person I admire so very, very much. Rudy and I, of course, go way, way back. I first got to know him over 30 years ago when I became the university's chief academic officer and he was dean of the business school. Believe me, things were quite different in the business school back then. It was over-enrolled, underfunded. I suspect Dean Anand say that hasn't changed, but we'll let that go. And it was housed in a dilapidated facility. But none of this stopped Rudy because he had a vision of building a great business school. Fortunately, Rudy didn't just have a vision. He also has several qualities that enabled him to move toward that vision, qualities I have always appreciated. First, he has what I call optimistic persistence. Rudy knew that if Rome couldn't be built in a day, neither could a great business school. For sure, we had our ups and downs in those years. Uneven funding, an administrative structure back then that had the business school not even reporting to the campus administration. That's how low the priority was for the business school back then. Fortunately, with Rudy's help, we got that fixed pretty quickly. But through these challenging times, I saw in Rudy that he epitomized what I have come to believe is one of the most important qualities of an effective leader: a realistic but unflaggingly optimistic outlook. Where others saw problems, Rudy saw opportunities. A second quality Rudy possesses is his resourcefulness. In many ways, he was the university's first entrepreneur, and this was long before that term became the buzzword that it is today. In fact, I've seen him referenced as the godfather of entrepreneurship. When Rudy and I first began working together, the university was at a very nascent stage of fundraising and external relations. Rudy knew he couldn't build the school he envisioned without the help of donors and external advisors. He was one of, if not the first dean, to create an external advisory board that Bill Mayer served on, and a stellar board it was. Not only did this group help Rudy shape his vision of the school, they became important champions of moving toward that vision. They also helped Rudy mount a significant fundraising effort. The results of these efforts have shaped the marvelous Robert H. Smith School that we have today. Perhaps Rudy's greatest accomplishment in this area was the partnership with Michael Dingman to create the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship. Rudy and I took countless trips to New York City to talk to Michael Dingman. It took us a while to get the concept in the form Michael wanted, but Rudy finally did. And what a resource this magnificent center has become for us today. And then there was the courting of Leo Van Munching. I'll never forget the joyous day when we opened this building and the event when Leo Van Munching and his family came here for the naming ceremony. There can be no doubt that this wonderful building is the house that Rudy built. Now, an important point to make about Rudy's body of work is that great universities aren't built by all elements of the university rising to excellence simultaneously. They are built by developing peaks of excellence and using these peaks to be the tide that raises the level of all programs to excellence. That's why what Rudy has accomplished is so important to this university. His vision, his drive for excellence, his optimistic persistence enabled him to lay the foundation for this great business school, and in a larger sense, help lay the foundation for the great university we have become today. And what's so impressive is that Rudy accomplished all this while being seen by his colleagues unfailingly as a very nice and caring person, both in the school and across the campus. In closing, let me note that Rudy also possesses a quality that, quite frankly, has been a bit of an irritant to me. That's what I call his Dorian Gray quality. Now, Rudy has always been older than I am. But darn it, he never looked that way. Rudy, I see that a little gray has finally crept into your hair. But still, of course, far more has crept into mine. So, Rudy, on this very special occasion, I salute you for your youthful spirit and appearance, your consistent can-do attitude, your unflagging optimism and persistence in the face of overwhelming challenges, and your supportive and wonderful friendship over all these years. And most especially, I salute you for what you have meant to this university. We are the university we are today in no small measure because of the trail you blazed and the role model you have been for so many others. Congratulations and heartfelt thanks for all you have meant to so many of us and to this institution for over 40 years.
Britt, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner will be served. Please enjoy your meal, and we'll be back after dinner with the rest of our program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started on the second half of our program. We hope you are enjoying your dinner. Please continue to do so as we continue tonight. Before we introduce our next speaker, we have a list of thank yous and some people we'd like to recognize tonight. We're honored to have some members of the University System Board of Regents with us tonight. Tom McMillan is here. Tom? Also from the board, Barry Gossett and his wife Mary. And the chair of the Regents, Platt Forestano, had to leave, but she was here and sends her regards to Rudy as well. We also have a group with us tonight, the Smith Advisory Board, and this is a group of alumni who help advise and counsel Dean Anand and come to the Smith School a couple of times a year, and they consult with him throughout the year. Will the members of the Smith Advisory Board please just stand, please, and be recognized? Thank you. The board arrived today. They had some committee meetings this afternoon, and then the full board meeting is tomorrow. And we can't say enough in terms of thank yous for the assistance they give us in the guidance concerning the Smith School. This was an interesting event because one person was sort of put in charge, and then she had to sort of put it together with help from many others. And when I mentioned to Jessica Davies that she would be introduced tonight and recognized, she was very unhappy about it, but we can't. We absolutely must say thank you to Jessica Davies, wherever she is, back there. Thank you. Jessica has a special events planner in her bloodstream and went to work, and there are also people in the room here that gave her a lot of help in putting this together. We also definitely want to thank and welcome each of you. We know people have come from all over to honor Rudy tonight. Some from right inside the Beltway. I've talked to people from Philadelphia, people from New York. We have someone from Texas. And so people have definitely made an effort to get here tonight. And we know your presence means a great deal to Rudy, and I'm sure he will share those feelings with you a little bit later on. Another group we'd like to recognize tonight, I know the business school world well. I've been in higher ed for 20 years, and I've been on the campuses of the top 20 or 30 schools, and there's not a faculty anywhere that can touch the faculty that's at the Smith School of Business. So we have a number of our professors here tonight. Will the faculty please stand and be recognized? Speaking of faculty, I was mentioning earlier about the website where people wrote in about their reflections of Rudy. One of those was Professor Alex Trianis of the Finance Department. Alex is here tonight, and I'll read what Alex wrote. Rudy, you are the Kevin Bacon of entrepreneurs community. Everybody connects back to you. I'm very fortunate to have a Lamone number of 1. Thanks for being such a great friend, mentor, and inspiration. I have such fond memories of all of our lunches together at Sergio's, and I'm looking forward to many more. Alex, thank you. I haven't met a professor here who doesn't have a special place in their heart for Rudy, but it goes beyond that. His students absolutely adore him, and Carly Fiorina is one of those students. Carly worked for Rudy when she was a student here at the Smith School, and the two share a very warm and unique relationship. After graduating in 1980 with her MBA, Carly went on to such firms as AT&T, Lucent, and Hewlett-Packard. We know her story, the first woman to lead a Fortune 20 company. Under her leadership, HB successfully acquired and integrated Compaq, doubled its revenues to $88 billion. For all of her achievements, Carly was named Fortune's most powerful woman in business for 6 consecutive years, also appearing on the Time 100 in 2004. While Rudy is full of stories about Carly, we'd like to turn the tables and have Carly speak about Rudy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carly Fiorina.
Well, good evening. It is so wonderful to join all of you in this beautiful building to honor Rudy and to welcome his lovely wife, Linda, as well. I had the pleasure actually to see Rudy last week at the University of Maryland Business School's Forum on Emerging Markets, Women in Emerging Markets. And Rudy and I hadn't seen each other in, I don't know, a year or two maybe. And he asked about me. We exchanged, sort of updates on our lives. And then he immediately began introducing me to students. Oh, Carly, you have to meet so-and-so, they're so fantastic. And to members of the staff, you have to meet so-and-so, they're so fantastic. And he had that, every introduction he made, he had that pride in his voice that I remember. and that joy in his eyes that I remember. In other words, Rudy hasn't changed a bit in all these years. Many people tonight, all of us tonight, are remembering Rudy's incredible accomplishments. His success as a professor, his success as a dean, his success in fundraising, his success in building buildings, his success in creating something where nothing existed before, like the Dingman Center. He has incredible accomplishments, actually. But it is his gift that I would like to speak about tonight. Rudy has a very special gift. No, I'm not talking about the gift he has to remember absolutely everyone's name forever. I mean, have you noticed that? It's incredible. He'll see someone from years ago, oh, so-and-so, and then he knows a million stories about it. I mean, he remembers everyone's name, he remembers everyone's story, but that's not the gift that I'm talking about. The very special gift that Rudy has, in addition to his optimism, his enthusiasm, his intellect, his ability to see possibilities, his very special gift is that he sees potential in other people. And he knows how to challenge people, support people, believe in people enough that they see that potential in themselves. That is a gift. Way back in 1978, I applied to the University of Maryland, Robert H. Smith School, College Park. Now imagine for a moment that you are Dean Lamone and you are his admissions committee and you get an application from this person. Let me quickly tell you that the application was late because it was mailed from Italy. And what you read on this application is this person is a Stanford University graduate. Okay, not bad, but in medieval history and philosophy, a little off maybe. This person has had less than a semester of law school and dropped out. This person has worked as a secretary, really good typist, filist, excellent at answering the phones, and then this person runs off to Italy to teach English for a year and takes the GMATs and applies to the business school from a military base in Italy, Vicenza, Italy, actually. And on top of it all, her application is late. So what do? You say no. I mean, it was the rational decision. I happen to be that person. I'm devastated. I think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have to live in the Washington area. I've sort of pinned everything on going to get my MBA and get serious with my life, so I start making phone calls. And one of the first people I speak to is Professor Ed Locke, who I will hold forever in my heart because he passed me on to the next level. Ultimately, I spoke to Rudy Lamone. And ultimately, Rudy Lamone, I mean, I'm very far away in Italy on the phone, but somehow, that gift, he said, okay, we'll let you in. But of course, it didn't stop there. I gratefully come to the University of Maryland. I become an MBA student. Frankly, I was totally lost. I didn't know much about business other than I had worked as a secretary in a 9-person firm. And when I was working at that 9-person firm, 2 businessmen came to me and said, we think maybe you could be more than a secretary. Maybe you'd like to know a little something about business. And they kind of put me on that path. But Rudy, all of my professors here challenged me, Bill Nichols, Ed Locke, so many others. And I am forever grateful. But Rudy, the dean of the business school, Rudy one day asks to see me in his office. I'm quite intimidated, actually. And Rudy, the dean of the business school, a man of stature and distinction, asks me to help him on a special project. And with that simple act, with that gift of seeing potential in someone even when they did not see it in themselves, Rudy Lamone changed my life. just as he has changed the life of so many thousands of people. Some years later, after I had graduated from the University of Maryland, I came back to teach as a guest lecturer, and I was asked to talk to students about leadership. What was leadership? And so I talked about the fact that leadership has nothing to do with power or position or title or the size of your office or the size of your budget. That leadership is about making a positive difference. Leadership is about building capability. Leadership is about unlocking potential in others. And I told them my favorite quote about leadership, which comes from Sun Tzu, the Chinese philosopher. It was Sun Tzu who said, "The great leader is he who men revere. The evil leader is he who men despise. The truly great leader is he of whom the people say, 'We did it ourselves.'" Because the truly great leader makes people believe in themselves. The truly great leader helps people see their own potential. The truly great leader gives people the support they need, the challenge they need, the push they need to go on and do things that perhaps they did not think they were capable of. Rudy Lamone has a gift. He sees potential in other people. Rudy Lamone is a truly great leader. And of course, I know, we know, every life that Rudy Lamone has touched, we all know that none of us do it ourselves. Every single one of us achieve whatever we achieve in life because someone comes along and takes a chance on us, because someone comes along and sees something in us, because someone comes along and lights a spark in us. That is Rudy Lamone's great gift. It is his great legacy. And I and thousands of other people know that Rudy Lamone has changed our lives forever. We love you, Rudy. Congratulations and thank you.
Carly, thank you. Another letter that was sent in to the Rudy website. This one's from Don Spiro, former director of the Dingman Center. He writes, "Like many others, I was recruited to the Smith School by Rudy's relentless application of charm and persuasion, and my wife Nancy was also a part of his offensive. The nearly 5 years I spent as director of the Dingman Center was a time of unparalleled challenge and growth for me personally, as well as for the center and the school. I received the gift of being a colleague of Rudy, Howard Frank, and the extraordinary Smith School faculty, staff, and students, and also valued connections with communities across the College Park campus and the UM system. Rudy was a constant voice of reason, enthusiasm, creativity, and uncompromising candor, occasionally stinging, but always injecting his exceptional leadership and wisdom. For me, he was and still is a mentor, friend, and model for the highest ideals of entrepreneurship and education." That's from Don Spiro, former director of the Dingman Center. Last weekend, maybe some of you attended the University of Maryland Alumni Awards Gala, and Philip Van Munching was there, and he was talking about how the great ones have one name: Cher, Madonna, Bono, Rudy. But as much as he's a star, he is a visionary. And another campus visionary, and one who's also focused on entrepreneurship, is Professor and former university President Dan Mote. Dan was the president of the University of Maryland College Park for 12 years, from 1998 to 2010, and now he's the Glenn L. Martin Institute Professor of Engineering here at the Clark School of Engineering on campus. During his tenure as president, the university saw its largest building boom in its 150-year history, and we launched our first $1 billion campaign under his leadership. He was recruited to lead the University of Maryland to national prominence under a mandate by the state. In 2005, the university was ranked 18th among public research universities, up from number 30 just years before. Dan Mote has authored more than 300 publications. He holds patents in the United States, Norway, Finland, and Sweden, and he's mentored 56 PhD graduates. And many of you probably are aware that last year, Dan oversaw the strategic planning work group that was comprised of faculty, alumni, and friends engaged in entrepreneurship, with the idea of presenting a plan to the president for innovation and entrepreneurship initiative here at the university. If you're on the campus, you hear about it constantly. It's extremely exciting, and it's an initiative that'll have a definite impact on the Smith School. Will you please welcome Dan Mote?
Thank you very much. Oh, Rudy, this is really a treat, and I think I feel very small following Carly's remarkable presentation, who really speaks for all of us. Thomas Jefferson decided that he would not have the fact he was President of the United States on his epitaph. Of the 3 items he had on his epitaph, he wanted that he founded the University of Virginia. I think if Rudy ever has an epitaph, as a matter of fact, he will not put on his epitaph the fact that he was the first dean of the School of Business. He will put on there, I founded the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship. And though I didn't know Mr. Jefferson, I would say they probably would do it for the same reason. You know, there are ideas, there are good ideas, and there are great ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Most of them don't work out. Good ideas are ideas that work, but great ideas are ideas that not only work, but they morph in time, they adapt, they're dynamic, and they continue for long periods of time, and there are very few of those ideas, very few of those ideas, and that's the Dingman Center. And that was Rudy's vision, was very timely, it was prescient, and it essentially created this entity which has morphed now over 25 years and become more important all the time, which almost never happens. Innovation and entrepreneurship now are on the lips of everyone. Every university, every city, every state, every nation, everybody in the world is crazy about innovation and entrepreneurship at this moment. And it's very apparent that, in fact, the Dingman Center has had such a marvelous impact and a long-term morphing impact that it has come together with engineering and other parts of the campus to create this vision for the entire campus. And in fact, through the leadership of the business school and engineering, working with the new president, Wallace Lowe, the new president has made this a feature of his presidency. It's going to be his, he says he stakes his presidency on the success of bringing this to the campus at large, and he's counting on the Dingman Center to take leadership as well as engineering and others on the campus. So the campus is going to be transformed by this. In fact, just yesterday, the National Academy of Engineering had its first regional workshop in history in the greater Washington area on this campus. And the topic was innovation and entrepreneurship was the topic. And there were hundreds of people came to this, and it was web streamed out across the campus and, of course, and around the world as well. And all of that, I think, Rudy, you can take credit for. All of that comes from your prescient idea and the way you initiated this process long before the campus was even thought about the fact that it was important. You saw the vision, you saw what needed to be done, and of course, this is all coming out of that. And the campus and the state and the nation are the great beneficiaries of what you started and what's going to happen here going forward. You're long and you're persistent, and your personal contributions to the School of Business and the campus have been talked about often. And It's never been about you. You have never been about you. That's what I love so much about you. As Carly said so effectively, you're all about other people.
And though I
You're all
didn't
about
know
the
Mr.
students.
Jefferson,
And you're
I would
constantly,
say they probably
whether
would
you
do
know
it for the
or
same
not,
reason.
you can't get away from being all
No, there
about
are
the students
ideas,
and other people. And
there are
everybody
good
just loves
ideas,
this in you.
and there are great
that
ideas.
has what has brought
Ideas
everyone
come a
here
dime a
tonight,
dozen, most of
and
them
that
don't work
has
out.
what made you the great
Good ideas are
person
ideas
you
at
are.
work. So,
But great ideas are ideas that not only have a long way to go before
but
you
they
have to
morph
write
in time.
founder of the
They
Damon Center.
adapt. They're
on that
dynamic,
piece of stone.
and they continue for long periods of time. And there
I'm
are very
sure,
few of those
it
ideas.
will be
very,
there.
very
And
few
of course,
those ideas.
the business school
and
will
that's
also Dingman Center. And that was Rudy's vision, was very timely, it was prescient, and it essentially created this entity which has morphed now over 25 years and become more important all the time, which almost never happens. Innovation and entrepreneurship now are on the lips of everyone. Every university, every city, every state, every nation, everybody in the world is crazy about innovation and entrepreneurship at this moment. And it's very apparent that, in fact, the Dingman Center has had such a marvelous impact and a long-term morphing impact that it has come together with engineering and other parts of the campus to create this vision for the entire campus. And in fact, through the leadership of the business school and engineering, working with the new president, Wallace Lowe, the new president has made this a feature of his presidency. It's going to be his, he says he stakes his presidency on the success of bringing this to the campus at large, and he's counting on the Dingman Center to take leadership as well as engineering and others on the campus. So the campus is going to be transformed by this. In fact, just yesterday, the National Academy of Engineering had its first regional workshop in history in the greater Washington area on this campus. And the topic was innovation and entrepreneurship was the topic. And there were hundreds of people came to this, and it was web streamed out across the campus and, of course, and around the world as well. And all of that, I think, Rudy, you can take credit for. All of that comes from your prescient idea and the way you initiated this process long before the campus was even thought about the fact that it was important. You saw the vision, you saw what needed to be done, and of course, this is all coming out of that. And the campus and the state and the nation are the great beneficiaries of what you started and what's going to happen here going forward. You're long and you're persistent, and your personal contributions to the School of Business and the campus have been talked about often. And it's never been about you. You have never been about you. That's what I love so much about you. As Carly said so effectively, you're all about other people. You're all about the students. And you're constantly, whether you know it or not, you can't get away from being all about the students and other people. And everybody just loves this in you. And that has what has brought everyone here tonight, and that has what made you the great person you are.
Work at the Dingman Center or who have worked in the past at the Dingman Center to please stand and be recognized. Well, tonight is about Rudy Lamone, as we all know, but we want just for a moment to please recognize by applause Linda Lamone. The business school at the University of Maryland has been in business for over 90 years, believe it or not, and during that time there have been good years and some not so good years. One of the most challenging periods of time, especially in terms of the economy, has been the last 4 years. We all know it's been tough out there, and tough times require top-notch leadership. And for the past 4 years, despite furloughs, no raises, unbelievably competitive business school arena, the faculty and staff here have remained loyal to our current dean and his vision and his leadership. Prior to joining the Smith School of Business, Dean Anand Anandalingam was at the University of Pennsylvania for 15 years. He was a professor in both the engineering school and at the Wharton School. Anand received his PhD and MS from Harvard. He has his BA and MA from Cambridge University. His experience, energy, and focus on collaborative efforts are positioning the Smith School to excel in many different arenas. To introduce you to our guest of honor tonight, please welcome our Dean, Dean Anand.
Thanks, Ken. So they call you the godfather of entrepreneurship. So I figured I'll use my godfatherly voice to do this presentation. And I'm going to keep this at a level of a little bit of humor, if you don't mind, towards the end. So anyway, as you heard tonight, Rudy is indeed a champion for the Smith School, the Dingman Center, entrepreneurship, and the students he's worked with over the years. I should tell you that you've also been a mentor to almost all the faculty who are here. In fact, my good friend Arjang Assad has come all the way from Buffalo, New York, just to be here. In fact, he had to apparently cancel one of his important events to be here. So it's a testament to the fact that I want to speak for the faculty. You've really been a mentor to the faculty. And I know that every time you walk into my office, I'm thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to get more homework. I mean, 5-minute conversation with you, and I have like 5 more things to do. So, but it's good because you really keep the energy of this business school up. I mean, all of you have heard about his time as dean, his impact on a countless number of students and faculty. You've seen his smiles, and the script says frowns. I've never seen that, but and frowns and laughs. So we have our own legacy of Rudy at the Smith School, of course in Rudy's Cafe. But tonight we are going to begin another legacy, Rudy. Tonight we're going to honor Rudy's transformational leadership. Thanks to very generous donations led by Leo Van Munching, Bill Mayer, and others, we are pleased to announce the Rudy Lamone Chair for entrepreneurial leadership. I'm stumbling because Rudy wants to always tweak things at the end, right? So he told me, what's this entrepreneurial leadership? It should be innovation and entrepreneurship. And I told him, look, how do I give a chair with such a long name, you know? So he told me, what about 2 chairs? I kid you not. Anyway, this is a big commitment from the school, and I'm pleased to say that fundraising efforts are halfway there, so we are almost there. And I'm going to call you on stage in a little bit, but before I call you, I want to give a little anecdote about Rudy in a little bit of a humorous way that hasn't been said before. Bruce Golden, our colleague of many years, was not able to be with us tonight, but he asked me to read the following, okay? So Bruce Golden says, first of all, I'm sorry I couldn't be with you all to celebrate Rudy's enormous impact on the Smith School. Of course, he's attending some conference in Chicago. He says, Rudy hired me in 1976, and I served as department chair from 1980 until after Rudy stepped down as dean in 1992. So we interacted extensively over a 12-year period. Rudy was always a gentleman, but I'm sure others have praised him a lot. So rather than praise him one more time, I'm going to share a story that might cause him to blush. Anyway, we used to have our Christmas parties in the Rossborough Inn, and in 89 or 90, Rudy and I were chatting at this party in front of the bar, and he told me a story that had 2 of us laughing out of control. So if you remember the story. So this is Rudy now. Apparently he had been at a meeting in a hotel, and at a break, he ran for the restroom, found a stall, and settled in comfortably. Remember the story? Within a minute, he realized that all the voices and sounds around him were female. So apparently he froze in horror, lifted his feet from the floor so that his shoes wouldn't show. He could see headlines in the next day's paper, right? University of Maryland Business School Dean caught in the ladies' room with his pants down. So Rudy held his breath until the room was emptied, and apparently he ran out in record time. As Bruce says, just one more example of Rudy's grace under pressure. I mean, so for now, I'd like you to help me welcome the man who, like Cher and Madonna, needs no introduction. Rudy, please join me on stage. Rudy, as a testament to your legacy and the power vested in me by those in this room, I'm pleased to present you with your chair. Rudy Lamone. Thank you, Rudy.
I don't really know where to begin, but I'm asking right at the top of the program here that you give me at least 2 chances at a Bubba Watson breakdown. You know who Bubba Watson is? Yeah, well, you remember that. Give me 2, and I think I can get through this thing. I really am deeply touched and honored and inspired by this recognition, and genuinely excited about the opportunities that this chair makes possible for the entrepreneurship programs at the University of Maryland. To be joined at this presentation by 2 of my very, very favorite students, Bill Mayer and Carly Fiorina, and 3 great academic leaders, and Dan Moat, and Britt Kerwin, and Ananda Lingam, is an extra special joy to me. Never in a million years would I have expected this tribute. Of course, at my age, I've seen it all. I've done it all, heard it all. I just can't remember the damn thing. So let's begin my story with my Italian immigrant parents. Sitting around a table of pasta one evening, talking about education, Mom said, "A formal education, son, will make you a very nice living." Dad thought a moment and he said, "Son, self-education will make you a fortune." Fortunately, or unfortunately, I followed my mom's advice. So here I am, folks. At the heart of academic excellence is a highly energized faculty that provides world-class education and research opportunities to an outstanding group of students, an outstanding student body. That's what it's about for me. Endowed and chaired professors really represent the backbone of the faculty here at the Smith School and provide important leadership for all programs within the Smith School. So these chaired professors are so vitally important to everything that we think and talk about in the academic world. So you can see why receiving what is considered to be the pinnacle award a faculty member can receive, why such an award given to a poor guy like me means so damn much. It is just wonderful, and I love you for doing it. The first person to endow a chaired professorship was Bill Mayer, whom you met right at the beginning. And Bill was very tough, you know. I just had to get down on my knees and beg Bill. And I did that in New York and first Boston, so it was somewhat embarrassing, you know, to be in this world-renowned bank, and all of his officers saw me get down on my knees pleading for some money for an endowed chair. But I did that. I needed an endowed chair in finance so that I could bring a person that I loved dearly and had gotten to know, and invited to Maryland to visit with us. He liked me, I liked him, but I didn't have any money to bring him here. He said, "I would love it here. If you can just get me an endowed chair, I'll come down." And so I went to Bill Mayer and said, "Bill, please, give me a break, man. I'll never ask you for anything else. Just give me this chair. Only $1 million, you know, so what the hell." Now, Lema Sembet is recognized even today as one of the top dozen finance scholars in the world. He has been an advisor to the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the United Nations. I love this guy. Ethiopian, so we have dinner at an Ethiopian restaurant in Washington and an Italian restaurant. So I converted him, you know. He has to eat some of my stuff and I eat some of his. It was made for a wonderful relationship. And so that's what I think the Lamone Chair is all about, an ability to attract really incredibly wonderful people that I couldn't by myself attract. And so I think that's the real message here, the power of making a contribution that impacts not just Rudy Lamone, but impacts the whole school and the whole environment surrounding the school. These chaired professors are incredibly important to the life of any great school. Look at a great school, you'll see a great faculty of endowed chairs and professorships. So it's more important than I think people realize. And that's the important message that I want to leave tonight. Hopefully, you know, with all these many people, I'd never walk away from a crowd like this without asking for $2. And so I'm going to ask you to think about how important this tribute to me can be to everybody else in the Smith School. It is the difference between a great and absolutely excellent school. These kinds of little things, if you will, a small gift can change the whole complexion of what we're all about here at the University of Maryland. So I encourage you to think about that a little bit. We think this Lamone Chair, when appointed, will attract a very, very special group of students we call entrepreneurs. Those are my kids. Or as many like to say, the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the ones who say things differently, who are not fond of rules and have little respect for the status quo. These are my entrepreneurs. That's what I think about when I think of my entrepreneurs. Not your typical student enrolled here at the University of Maryland, but nevertheless a segmented but vitally important group of students to make up this university. Now you can agree with them, or you can disagree with them, I should say, but you can't ignore them because they change things, they push the human race forward. Those are my entrepreneurs. And unlike some folks who may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that change the world. Those are my entrepreneurs. For 27 years, the Smith School, together with the Dingman Center, has delivered educational, training, and research programs to the entrepreneurial community worldwide. In many of these programs, we have partnered with wonderful colleagues in engineering and tech commercialization, life sciences on this campus. And we're just beginning to build that particular relationship in ways that I think will surprise you 10 years from now. I've never seen a group of people from disparate groups. You know, engineering deans never talk to business school deans for many, many years, and I was fortunate to have a person, George Dieter, who came here from Carnegie Mellon 20-some years ago to become the dean of the engineering school here. And in the first week he was here, he called me and he said, "Rudy, we need to get together." I thought that was really amazing that an engineering dean would call a business school dean and say, "Come, let's just sit down." And we did that. And it began a conversation week after week after week that I think was the most productive relationship that I established in all my academic career. And that's what I think it takes, you know, breaking down some of these smokestacks, as I call them, that keep people from interacting. We don't need to, you know, force an entrepreneurship program or tech commercialization program or any program on anybody because it doesn't work. Programs happen because people want them to happen. So you just can't force these kinds of things. And so I think that's what's happened here in that wonderful relationship that George and I started by talking, having lunch every week. We didn't care about whether, you know, it followed the rules of the university and what we needed to do to get together to talk. We did it because we felt that's what we had to do. So that's the kind of, I think, environment that I would love to see take place here. I want, you know, entrepreneurship is about, it's kind of a subversive activity. It's about creative destruction. You know, Schumpeter years ago said that's what it's all about. You just break down things and start over, innovate, build something new. And I don't think we celebrate entrepreneurship like we should. I don't think we celebrate creative destruction like we should. Wouldn't it be nice if every week on this campus you heard a couple bells go off someplace on the campus signifying that some student had broken the barrier, said the hell with those rules, I don't want to follow those rules because they don't make sense. I want to break down some of these walls because the walls don't make sense. Wouldn't it be nice if you just heard that coming from around the campus every day of the week? So I'm out here promoting, you know, celebrating the wonderful spirit of entrepreneurship. And you do that by letting the kids, every Friday, you know, we have something called Pitch Dingman here, started by my good friend, a young guy, you know, out of the MBA, didn't know a damn thing about it, but he knows. Asher, you know I love you, man. So. But he did it, you know, he did it. And we all love him for it because the impact of his idea to say every Friday between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, this is open sort of notice across campus, wasn't anything formal. Hey guys, we're going to be here. If you want to pitch your idea, come over. No appointments, just come over. And let me tell you something. It is the most beautiful, thing that you ever want to see or experience in your life. These kids who never come to anything show up at the Dingman Center office, and they wait and sign up to come to listen to some of the people here at my Dingman Center entrepreneurs in residence who sit with them and school them and give them feedback on their ideas. It's a wonderful dynamic that I would love to see created and duplicated across this campus, and I think eventually will, because we have people now in leadership who really believe that we're onto something here, and we need to do whatever it is to make it all happen. After one of my, I'm a musician, so I'm always thinking about songs, and there's a song about thanking everybody for providing the wind under my wings and for carrying me along on this wonderful journey. Thank you very much.
A wonderful celebration for a wonderful man, and it couldn't have happened if you were not here tonight. I know it means a great deal to our community, to our school, our university, and especially to Rudy that you showed up tonight to honor him and to thank him. This concludes our program. Thank you so much for coming tonight, Rudy. Thank you. Have a great night. Please drive home safely. You're welcome to stick around and enjoy the time together. Thank you.